How on earth do you tell the entire story of humanity in just one book? I mean, from the very first civilizations all the way to today, it seems like an impossible job, right? But what if the goal wasn't just to list a bunch of facts, but to actually tell a story? This idea, right here from Rudyard Kipling, really gets to the soul of the book we're going to explore today. It's this thought that history isn't supposed to be a boring list of dates we all had to memorize in school. No, it's meant to be one huge, unforgettable story. Okay, so let's be clear. We're not about to try and summarize thousands of years of human history in just a few minutes. That would be crazy. Instead, we're going to look at how a book even tries to do that. We'll unpack its philosophy, its structure, and most importantly, what it tells us about our own place in this grand story. So, the book we're digging into is Dunya Tarihi 101, which basically means World History 101. It's by a historian named Dr. Tom Head, and its goal is pretty ambitious, but it's right there in the title, to give all of us a foundation for understanding our shared past. Now, the author starts with a really fascinating take on what history even is. He argues it's not just some dusty, old subject about things that happened a long, long time ago. He says it's the active, living story that we're all constantly creating and telling about ourselves, with what we say and with what we do. It's kind of like our collective autobiography. So, a story that big, how do you possibly structure it? Well, the book's approach is to break that immense timeline down into a series of really focused snapshots. And you can just see from the contents here, the scale is absolutely massive. The whole story of humanity gets organized into 64 distinct chapters. Each one is kind of its own little self-contained story from a specific time and place. You know what? Let's take a super quick trip through that timeline just to get a feel for it. So the story kicks off, as you might expect, right at the dawn of civilization. We're talking about the Sumerians and the Akkadians in Mesopotamia. And from there, it just sweeps us forward through the rise of these huge empires, focusing on these massive turning points, like when the Roman Republic became the Roman Empire. The story keeps pushing on through the centuries, landing us right in the thick of the global conflicts that totally shaped the modern world, like the Second World War. And get this, it doesn't even stop in our time. The very last chapter actually looks ahead, speculating about the future of history, which brings the whole narrative full circle. It's a pretty breathtaking journey. But this brings up a really crucial question. When you've got literally millions of years of human experience to pull from, how does a historian choose what makes it into the story? Why do we remember some things and completely forget others? The author finds a clue to the answer in this really powerful quote from the playwright Bertolt Brecht. This idea is pretty much the philosophical heart of the whole book. The argument is that the history we remember is, for the most part, the story of our scars. So here's the key point. History tends to focus on wars and revolutions, but not because those things are somehow more important than peace or art. It's because they leave behind hard evidence, things like laws, treaties, and battlefield ruins. They leave scars on the historical record that are just easier to read centuries later. But this also gives us a bit of a skewed perspective, right? It forces you to ask, what parts of the story are we missing just because they didn't leave a scar? And you can really see it here. A war chariot or a fortress leaves a very different kind of mark on the world than 1,000 daily conversations or quiet moments of peace. One is a scar, preserved in stone and metal. The other, well, it often just vanishes along with the people who lived it. So where does all this leave us? Well, the book doesn't just treat history as something that's over and done with. It brings it right to our front door. In the introduction, the author makes this really powerful statement. History isn't just about kings and queens and generals. It's about us, your life, my life, every single decision we make, every action we take. It's all a part of this massive ongoing story of humanity. We are all writing history every single day. And so that leaves us with the very same question the book poses to its readers. If history is the story we are all telling about ourselves, then we have to ask, what will our chapter say?